Hey guys, welcome to another one of my breakdowns of the team that I'm predicting to make HRX through the placement rounds. This video is going to be dedicated to Spacestation Gaming, the team composed of Aquarius in the solo lane, Anister, Jungle, Venenu, Season 4 MVP in the mid lane, and then obviously Jeff and Barra. Can't forget them, obviously. The reason why I'm predicting them to make Worlds here, even though their performance was steadily decreasing throughout Season 5, is simply because of their LAN performances more than their online performances. If you look back historically, Jeff and Barracuda have never missed out on a Worlds, actually. And that's impressive considering other players in the team that didn't make Worlds. Anister, when he split ways with Jeff and Barra, I believe at the beginning of Season 3, made Worlds in Season 3, didn't make Worlds in Season 4. He was going through a little bit of a phase, switching to mid, realizing that he needed to carry more. So now he's back into the jungle, and things are on the up and up for him and his team as a result. And also going back to the Jeff and Barracuda discussion was Season 3, Jeff and Barracuda, their team, if you look back at it, was what? Scary D, Mask, Xenotronics, and then Jeff and Barra. That was probably their least skill cap team that they've ever been a part of, and they made it work. They were able to qualify from the LAN performance into HRX. Now, they didn't do that well in HRX in Season 3, but that's neither here nor there. I think that you look at Aquarius, he's definitely stepped up a lot. You look at his performance at even Season 4 Worlds, the rookie young gun was able to make a lot of plays happen. I'm not really too worried for him. And this team is composed of 4 world champions, actually technically 5, which I'll get into in a little bit later. Anister back with the team. He's won one, obviously, with Jeff and Barra in the first one. And then Venenu won Season 4. And this is a very similar roster to the Season 2 roster. If you look at, Cloud9 back then. It was Baskin instead of Aquarius. Like Baskin replacing Omega. So that's season... Hold on, let me go back. Season 2 roster was Baskin, Jeff, Barra, MLC Stealth, and Anister. Now, that was basically the same exact roster as Season 1, minus Omega, where Baskin stepped in. Season 1 MVP, MLC Stealth. And now this roster has another MVP in the form of Venenu. So it's a very similar roster where 3 out of the 5 members are still there, but instead of MLC Stealth, they have Venenu, that has a relatively similar god pool. Zeus's are there, Neefs are there for sure. He likes his hunters. And so that's a funny thing to kind of bring out statistically. I'll definitely like bringing in numbers. And the fact that, 4 out of 5 is very similar to the way it was in Season 2. Could see a same performance. Now, Season 2, it was Cloud9 losing to Epsilon, and no one was going to beat Epsilon that year. The fact that Cloud9 even got that close to bringing it to a game number 5 is a remarkable feat in its own right. Now, another thing that I wanted to touch on was the performance of Spacestation throughout Season 5. And online is so much different than on LAN. Now, Spacestation started off really hot at the beginning of Season 5. They were feeling it. They ended the online performance first seed in spring. They went 8-2 in sets, 16-8 in game-wise. So, 66.6% win efficiency, not too shabby. Now, on LAN, struggled against the European teams, as did E-United. Now, take that spring performance, looking at the summer. Now, instead of first seed, Spacestation Gaming end up second seed. It was E-United that was first at 8-2, and second was Spacestation at 7-3. Very close battle between these two teams. But yet again, both of these teams struggled against the European teams once they brought it to the LAN. And something about the water, I guess, in Europe that's making these teams a lot stronger, but there needs to be that hump to overcome if Spacestation or United are to beat some of these European teams. Now, fall performance was at an all-time low for Spacestation Gaming compared to their previous two, where they finished 3rd seed now. You see where the pattern is happening from 1st to 2nd to 3rd, as they finished out 6-4 set-wise, which is still good enough for them to get at least that first round of bye. Very important stuff if you look at the HRX placements here. Let's go ahead and take a look at this. specifically. We'll blow it up here. Spacestation have that first round bye to the point where they're going to be awaiting the result of SK Gaming versus No Ping. Now, I'm going to go ahead and pull up my prediction bracket just to show you guys where I have Spacestation going. I'm predicting Spacestation Gaming to face off against SK Gaming. If you look at the upper part of the bracket, so Spacestation up against SK Gaming. As much as Spacestation have struggled against European teams between Rival, Dignitas, and Energy between the spring and the summer lands, I don't think they're going to struggle versus SK Gaming. At least I would hope not. You know, the bottom seeded European team that has won a single set the entire year, if they were to somehow lose that set, I would be shocked. Now, their next set going to be very difficult because Rival is probably going to be there as they were to take on CLG. So Spacestation against Rival, I'm giving that to Rival. I think that Rival, despite their online performance this year, or sorry, this split, they have performed at LAN, making finals in both spring and summer, winning it in spring, ultimately falling to NRG in the finals of summer. Still gives me a lot of hope for Rival to make it. And then, so with Spacestation losing to Team Rival in round number 3, if you look at the lower round bracket, Spacestation Gaming will then have dropped to the losers round 4, where I'm predicting Trifecta to make it to them. And then Spacestation against Trifecta. Historically, Spacestation Gaming have been able to find victories over Trifecta, and I'm not expecting anything to change. And then things get a little bit interesting on the other side of the losers round 4, where Obey, I'm predicting, will be up against CLG. I'll be making a video about that as well. But for now, this one is dedicated to Spacestation. Predicting CLG to go through that one. Surprised? I'll be going over that in that video later on. Anyway, CLG versus Spacestation, similar story to Spacestation versus Trifecta. I don't think that Trifecta or CLG have what it takes to beat the veteran teams of Spacestation. They are very well orchestrated when it comes to LAN performances. Anister, Jeff, Barra, and then no matter who is in mid and solo, Venenu, MLC Stealth, Omega, Baskin, Aquarius, those 3 core members that I mentioned at the beginning have the experience and the chemistry to make the calls, to be able to win their lane, to be able to transition that to the victories. And I don't think CLG or Trifecta are going to get in Spacestation's way. Now, if Obey Alliance were a little bit healthier coming into this LAN, and if it was Obey Alliance as opposed to CLG, then I would be worried for Spacestation, actually. But not right now, because it's only the top 4 teams anyway making it. So with Rival Mouse Sports in the finals that I'm predicting, Spacestation Gaming 3rd, CLG 4th, those are the teams that I'm predicting to be able to make it to the HRX. Now, there was a little bit of a factor that I didn't go over. There is that 6th person that we were talking about before, how I said that there was people with 5 champion rings, or 5 people with champion rings, one of them having 2 rings. He's a little cutie patootie. He goes by the name of Dimi. Right there. Just going to go ahead and show you. So he is coming to Spacestation Gaming's roster as a coach, which is very interesting to have a European mindset go into North American roster. Now, funny that I'm wearing this Fnatic hoodie because I actually coached Fnatic back in the beginning of Season 3. So me being North American, coaching European team, I was able to help them a little bit with the North American meta as well. Not going to go too much into detail about that one, but crossing regions of mindsets allows your team to expand to different areas that they're not accustomed to. If you look at Rival, they didn't destroy Energy. It was a very close set in Season 4 Worlds, but they were able to find a victory over Energy. But then up against E United, they were ill-prepared versus that team. It was clearly evident that outside of their performance, there was also some hiccups, I think, in the metas, the picks and bans. Could have been a little bit more focusing out on Venenu in the playstyle. But because of how much focus Rival had up against wanting to beat Energy, they took United for granted completely, in my opinion. So the fact that Dimi is coming to coach Spacestation Gaming, that's another factor to consider to help boost Spacestation Gaming's chances to make it towards HRX. His mindset has always been not a passive player, but a very cautious player, where he's not trying to be looking for the flashy plays at the beginning of the game. In fact, Dimi picks gods where he has losing matchups sometimes because he knows his team is able to win the early game, but as long as he can transition in a powerful way in the mid to late game, whether it's Guan Yu, Tyr, otherwise Sobek, Xing Chen, like a lot of these bruisery guardians / warriors that have more control in team fights than his opposing enemy soul laner, that's the little edge that Dimi will bring to the mindset, I think, of Europe or to North America from the European side of the region. So I think that's going to allow AnatoLiy to assist more of like Jeff and Barra's lane, get that early game momentum to start getting those objectives. And we'll see how that kind of carries out, because I'm really intrigued to see if that's going to, if Dimi coming alongside Spacestation is going to change the overall playstyle as a whole, or if they're just going to change like a little picks and bans and whatnot. Because there's a lot of openings between red buff starts, like speed buff invades that both regions, North America and Europe, are experimenting with online. But at HRX placements, at HRX in general, things seem to tighten up a lot, and teams aren't going to be taking those kinds of risks. And Dimi, being a cautious player, very safe and methodical, could be that little push over the edge to give Spacestation their ticket into HRX. So that's my video to dissect why I think Spacestation Gaming is making it towards HRX through the placements. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. I got a couple more coming out, so be sure to subscribe to the channel to stay notified. Peace.